Welcome. And good evening, and also maybe good afternoon to some of you guys from Perth. So tonight we'll be talking about the research challenge for this year, and it's a briefing event, but really telling you about what's it about, but also what's in it for you. So just give me a moment. I'll put on a couple of slides. Okay. Hope you can all see this. To kick off, I might just talk about who is CFA societies, but also what is the difference to CFA Institute. We then dive into what is Research Challenge. You all hear and you've heard about Research Challenge, but what is it? How does it work? I want to give you a bit of flavor. And some of you might be thinking, well, what's in it for me? It seems like a lot of work. Why should I do it? And so I want to talk to you about the benefits of participation. And then don't just listen to me, because I didn't participate in this. So that's why I've got invited Jeff here today as well, who's on the call. He's a former participant in Research Challenge. Not only is a former participant, but he's actually gone on to winning the global finals. So the global champion here today. And so we'll hear from Jeff about his experience of the Research Challenge itself, but also how it's helped him, I guess, in his career, his personal development over time. So with that, I just want to show you a quick video to start with. Hopefully sound works, but let's give it a go.
What we do as financial professionals is for the ultimate benefit of our communities. And I think it's wonderful that we have teams here in this final today. This is an incredible competition. If you are in the last five, I mean, what an incredible achievement that is. The winner of the CFA Institute Research Challenge Global Final is Ateneo de Manila.
All right, I'll get the slides back on. So that gives you sort of a flavor of what this competition is. It's a global competition. I want to dive into what it is in a moment. But just before we do that, my name is Frank, and I'm a volunteer with the CFA Society of Sydney. My day job is a portfolio manager with MLC, and so I manage the diversified options in the super fund, the MLC super fund. And so as a volunteer with the CFA Society, we organise this research challenge. And I'll tell you about the why we do that in a moment. But the whole Society of Sydney, as a CFA Society Sydney, are a volunteer-driven community. And part of the goal is to help you, university students, across, not just in Sydney, but also across whole Australia. There are also CFA Society Melbourne and CFA Society Perth to help you make informed career choices in the investment industry, but also giving you the experience such as this to become an equity analyst. So that is different slightly to the CFA Institute. The CFA Institute administers the CFA program, the exams, and once you complete the exams, become a CFA charter holder once you fulfill the experience requirements. And the competition starts at the local level and it's organized by the local society, such as ours. And once you go to regional level, it's then organized by the CFA Institute all the way to the global finals. So this is a global competition because you guys probably have seen a lot of case competitions at uni. I've seen a lot. The student societies promote a lot of these various case competitions from multi-asset, equity, consulting, even actuarial competitions. A lot of them leading to an opportunity to intern with the sponsor firm. This competition is unique that it's not local. This is a global competition where you're competing against 5,000 students across the world, over 900 universities. And ultimately, there's only one winner. But throughout that, you are competing in multiple rounds. And we'll talk about different rounds, but each time there'll be a winner at the local round, at the sub-regional, the regional, and then ultimately at the global level. The competition is designed to give you hands-on experience to become an equity analyst. Now, you think that's a very narrow niche part of our industry, but the experience you've learned in this isn't limited to just equities. It can be for debt. It can be any type of form of investments. It's understanding DCF, or discounted cash flow models. It's how you analyze a company. And this experience is very valuable. But you're not doing it by yourself. You have hands-on mentoring from your faculty advisor, Ben, and also an industry professional. This competition is also very well developed with the industry. Not only you have your mentor, but throughout the whole process, where's your the graders of your reports, the judges when you present, these are all industry professionals, and most of them are existing equity analysts to portfolio managers or even head of equities with the buy side and sell side firms. So if it's the one competition you want to do, or a case study competition, this is the one. And I'm sure Jeff will test that in a moment. So how does it work? Actually, before I jump in there is Q&A. So if any of you guys have any questions, pop in the Q&A and we'll answer that either through the chat box, but also at the end. Oh, jumped too far. So this starts at the local rounds, and this is organized by your local society. So here I've just using our example with CFA Society Sydney, we host a competition for New South Wales, ACT as one local round. We also have a Brisbane chapter that's part of the Sydney, and they organise the Queensland round. The CFA Melbourne Society would then look after South Australia, Tasmania, and Victoria, and then Perth Society will look after WA University. So I know there's a few Curtin students today. So just on that, I just want to start with a poll, just so you know where you guys are from. If you could just respond to this live poll now. Awesome. So most of you from Sydney Society. Where's our Melburnians? Cool. And so the next, I'll just show you the results. Is there a next question? Oh, okay, now I found it. Okay, got it. So I'm not really good at this Zoom thing. Okay, so once you win your local competition, let's take the Sydney one, and you've outperformed, and you compete against 7 other universities, and you win. You then go to the sub-regional round, and for our sub-regional, you're competing against the societies I've just talked about, and there'll be top 2 teams would then advance to the regional round, which is at the APAC level. There'll be 1 winner at the APAC level, so the champions for APAC, and there'll be 5 regional winners then will advance to the global final. The global final, you're going to have people from Americas, APAC, Europe, and Middle East. And they typically fly you to New York for that final. Unfortunately, Jeff, I think when you guys competed, it was just the start of COVID, so you guys missed out. But you saw in the videos, the year, I think it was 2018, when Philippines won the global finals, and they had a tour of the stock exchange, and it's really interesting things they put on for you. And so that's what you're going through. And so how do you get involved? Is through your university's faculty advisor. So each university has one faculty advisor who's responsible for putting the team together. I think most of you have been referred to this event by your faculty advisor, but if you're interested in this and want to participate and you don't know who the faculty advisor is, just reach out to us and we'll help you to connect with that faculty advisor. Each university will have up to 5 students, can be a combo of undergrad and graduate students. And once the team's formed, we'll kick off the competition in August this year. And that's when we'll announce to you the target company, the one that you'll be analyzing. You'll be taking the next 8 weeks, working with your mentor, working with your faculty advisor to write the report. In that process, we will be providing a number of workshops, including ESG report writing, DCF modeling workshops to support you. And on top of that, the target company will be doing a company presentation to you where you have the opportunity to ask questions to that company. Basically, you're going to pretend you're the equity analyst and you be asking the company whatever you want. And that's the experience we want to give you. And then ultimately, you submit your written report in September and October, and the top 4 team in Sydney will then advance to the finals. In the finals, you'll be presenting your case to a panel of judges who are all industry professionals, and the presentation followed by a Q&A will determine a score. The combination of the presentation as well as the report determines the winner from the local round. And that concludes for us in Sydney is in October. I'm not sure with that same timeline as with the Melbourne and Perth Society, but we'll give you the details once you're registered. So I've got another question for you guys, another poll. What is your preferred career path? When I was at uni, I picked the last one. I have no idea. But don't pick that one if you do know where you're going. Okay, we're nearly there. Okay, done. End poll, and I'll just share the results. I'll just talk to this briefly. Can you guys see the poll results? So 30% of you are like me when I was at uni. I didn't know what I was going to do. And so part of the CFA, the reason we volunteer, and I volunteer, is I wanted to help you to make really informed career choices. So one way we do this is through Research Challenge, where we help you experience what's like to be an equity analyst. But we also run careers days, a newsletter called Investment Voices will be launching in August, where you get support on not just what different roles look like, but also tips and advice on getting into a role. So remember, you've got to be having informed choices, making informed choices. But once you make that choice, is how do you get in there? So I'll raise that one at the start. And I see most of you have put in investment banking, equity, and debt capital markets as your second preference. When I was at uni, investment banking was the one that's sort of most marketed at uni. So all I knew was, hey, let's get the investment banking graduate program. That was everyone's ultimate goal. The issue is this industry is so broad, it's so big, there's so many different roles for you. And funds management, research, and financial planning, these don't advertise at uni. So you probably haven't heard of it. But you're here today, and it suggests to me that you're interested in investing, and this competition experience will help you to experience more focused on the funds management sell side. But it's overall, it's developing your skill set in terms of report writing, financial modeling, which is used in investment banking, but also very importantly, your presentation skills and Q&A, entering under pressure. Okay, I've got one more before I want to show you what's in it for you. One more poll. We're almost there. Let's wait for a couple more people. All right, I'll end it here. Okay, so that's interesting. Most of you have selected experience equity research like a industry professional. That is exactly what this program is designed to do. So that's important. I think the second one that just highlighted, networking, mentoring, is so important. A lot of the funds management roles, a lot of the roles in our industry is not advertised on Seek or goes through a graduate program. And often you need to build that networking and mentoring opportunity. So that opens up opportunity for you in terms of career, which is really interesting. I'm glad you guys highlighted that one. And so we've had experience in the past where research participants have presented to judges and they're like, I like what you presented. And they had the opportunity to interview for an entry level role. That's not a grad program. It's not, and there's less competition for them. So it's worth understanding and thinking about networking very early on in your career. So I'm really, actually, I didn't share the results. You couldn't even see what I was talking about. There you go. Give me a moment to look at the results. Okay, we'll move on. What do I think the benefits of participation is? It's difficult to build your resumes these days. And so having the right competition in your resume do count a lot. So CFA is linked to the investment management industry. So if you want a career in investments, the CFA brand in that competition should be very meaningful in your resume. We've talked about the linkage to the industry. You will be mentored. You will be networking with industry professionals. These are people who are actually doing equity research day in, day out. That's the second and third point. I think I've mentioned you will have exclusive access to those workshops that we'll be offering. The career opportunity at the moment is a bit ad hoc, but longer term, what we hope to have is up with employers so there's more direct opportunities. Essentially, the employers want the best talent and you want the best employers. All we're trying to do is connect you guys. And so while that program is not formal in nature today, we are informally trying to connect you guys. So this competition allows you to demonstrate your capability to those potential employers. And the last point, I know you guys didn't rate the cash prize very highly, but there is a $10,000 scholarship that goes to university for winning this. So Jeff, I don't know how Sydney divided that money up, but I hope you got a piece of that prize money. Given that, I might hand over to you, Jeff, to share your experience, and then we'll come back to Q&A.
Okay, fantastic. Can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. Frank, if you don't mind, actually, I do have a couple of slides if you wanted to jump out. Perfect. There we go. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Very embarrassing photo of our team. There we go. Well, where do I begin? We were back in 2019, and this was just before COVID, actually. I thought about all the case comps I'd done throughout university. I'm sure many of you are at different stages in your university pathways, and this was one that really stood out. I think this is the case competition out there globally, and I think when I look back to, I was at third year university when I got selected for the team. So I noticed there's a question in the Q&A about how do you actually become part of the team at USyd. We actually have this course called Financial Valuations, and then we ask students to apply, and we work out who's the most passionate and who would actually be really interested in dedicating quite a lot of time to this. So I was fortunate to make it onto our USyd team, which is the first hurdle. And then from there, really just had the most amazing journey with these other 4 people and also with other people throughout the network globally. I think that's a big message that I wanted to convey that you get out of this challenge, is that you gain so much from listening to how other people present, analyze stocks. You're effectively a fund manager and analyst competing, but also collaborating with the global themes going on in the market at the time. So would absolutely recommend this to anyone who's even partially on the fence and give it a go. I'm going to quickly move from this first slide, given it's just a photo of us, to a little bit more of a metaphoric presentation. So I've only got 2 slides, but I want to take you on a bit of a journey of the first part of the presentation. This part will be about what you get out of it and what the journey is along the way. And then the second part will be some more specific tips to keep in mind when you are looking at your company. So onto this first one, the research challenge. Think of it like a journey downstream. I know it's very cliche to pull out a metaphor again, but I couldn't think, I didn't want to add more to the bullet points. So I thought, we'll do something a little bit different tonight. What I would really want to emphasize, and if there's one message you take out of my presentation tonight, is that what you get out of this, you don't actually know. You don't actually know what's going to be behind the bend at the end of this river. You see some exciting things ahead, but you don't know whether you're going to learn more about modeling than you ever have, whether you're going to be more on the market analytical side, whether you're going to learn about market data, competitive analysis, whether you're going to pick up on certain technical trends. Like for us, we had CBA, so I needed to work out hedging and funding markets for the banks, not just in Australia, but also globally. So you don't actually know. So my advice from that is it could be anything around the corner. So you may as well give it a shot and see what happens. And I think that's a message that a lot of us had in our team. We were very young, eager, excited analysts. We wanted to have a career in finance. We didn't know whether it was going to be on the banking side or on the buy side. 4 of my team are in banking. I'm on the buy side, and I absolutely love it, and they love their side too. But you just don't know what's going to come next. So I would jump into it. The second thing I want to talk about on this overall journey is that there's something really fulfilling about not taking shortcuts. I'm going to take a pause here and put your mind back to if you've ever done a DCF valuation at university, or you've had a case comp on the side, and there's always that temptation to plug in a WACC at 7.5% or forecast revenue at a 5% flat for the next 3 years. That's not what you do here. And what we get is a lot more of that sell side research, as if you're fully responsible for your analytical calls, and you could be held accountable from fund managers globally. So what we do in the research challenge is we don't take shortcuts. And I think there's something very fulfilling. It's very rare that you get supported to go in this level of depth and not do an evaluation for the purpose of getting marked at the university, but rather you really want to understand the absolute depths of the company. And just some anecdotes over the years, those who have done the challenge, I know because I access the research from a lot of the sell side equity research shops. I know they've actually used thesis arguments that came out of this challenge. So there have been 10 years of 15 years of history where some of the top reports, UBS or where I am, or Morgan Stanley, will pick up on some of these ideas and actually grow that into what is used in industry. So if you develop a research technique that's leagues above, and you develop a new ratio, or you find a certain valuation anomaly that you think should be presented, that's not only fulfilling from a sense that you can advance from this competition, but also you'll have quite strong industry street cred, which will take you far, as I'll explain at the very end of the presentation. So that was the bit on the journey I want to talk about. You don't know what's next, so jump into it. And secondly, you have a real chance to go into something very, very deep. The second part of the presentation, and again, very, very metaphorical here, and been looking at numbers a little bit too much today, so I thought I'd jump on some photos. This is how I would advise you to actually break down when you do get the stock. So here on the very left, what I have is macro environment. So these are geopolitical factors. Say, for example, we were looking at CBA. We were looking quite closely at whether there be any regulation on what would happen to Australia in banking sectors, or if you were looking at Transurban last year, was looking at, will there be international passengers coming through? Will that affect airport demand and the amount of passengers that are linked to toll roads from the major city airports? So there's a lot of macro, and that's a really great place to start from a high level. The second place I would look at is then you zoom in from macro into industry. So I've got the chess piece metaphor here, and what I'm really trying to show is Porter's Five Forces never gets old. I was lucky enough to actually meet Michael Porter, and he is an incredible person because he distills what goes on in an incredible amount of industries into a few specific factors. And I would highly encourage everyone to go and read his paper, not just that screenshot of the Porter's Five Forces. And it's a level of nuance that is really important. When I look today, I'm on the UBS asset management side. I look at a bit of private credit, bit of even some private equity, and a lot of public credit. We look very closely at this, and all the other major global funds out there on the street actually look very closely at pricing power. You might have a wine company, and you need to look very closely at how much pricing power do they have on the demand side to their end customers, and how much pricing power do they have along their supply chain, because that will inherently affect margins. So you need to understand this dynamic very well, and I just wanted to stress that today. The third point that I thought might be useful for everyone here is the last part, which is the company itself. And you've got to look at the roots. Forgive the pun, but you really do have to look at this as a tree from the bottom up. You need to look at what's going on with cash flows, with CapEx. How does the company generate a margin on invested capital? What's going on with any changes, such as what's going on with operating leverage? They're taking on more debt. How is their dividend varied over time? You really want to understand all those levers, and then you can build up through the branches and into areas such as strategy. What are they focusing on next? And then out all the way far into the leaves into what are maybe some extra growth areas. So I think that's a very nice high level summary, and I don't want to bore everyone with all this stuff now, because I do know it is quite early on in your journey, and tonight is more about tempting you to actually pursue this. And I don't think we have to, because I know the registrations globally are very, very large anyway. So it's more, this opportunity only comes around every so often, and you only really do it once, and I would go for it. And the only other thing I was going to mention in summary of this presentation is how it's impacted my career. So in summary, this is how you should analyze it: macro, industry, and the company level. Going back, don't forget the journey. You don't know what it's going to give you, and also just an incredible amount of industry exposure. We had the day we made it to the global final, we had people actually calling us from all the major firms in Sydney, saying that they were going to follow the live stream, which was quite daunting at our age, but very exciting from a networking and people recognizing your hard work and talent, and recognizing that you could be a really great person in the future. So I think that's exciting. Going all the way back to the beginning, so what did it lead to me? I was fortunate that I actually did the UBS cadetship, so I was at UBS all the way through. What it gave me is the opportunity to move from more of the sell side analytical process to the buy side. So I now manage over 45 billion worth of funds with my team, which is an incredible responsibility, but very rewarding. And I look at Asia investments and Australia. So I look at everything from your Singapore Airlines to Qantas to an Alibaba, a SoftBank, or even down some of our local players, Coles and Woolworths. That journey, I probably wouldn't have been able to take on such a broad coverage set if I didn't have the CFA Research Challenge behind me. It was a stamp of approval for our end investors, for our clients, and even our rating agencies and global heads, that there were people who had done a very, very rigorous approach to analyzing companies, and they could trust me. So I think that from a very personal perspective, it's hard to say that it was anything other than really impactful to my career. And for the others on the screen as well, you have Sahil on the left, and he was in my team, and that helped him gain the internship. Goldman Sachs, Jessica also across at Macquarie. Tom, I was able to recruit him across to the UBS side, which was fantastic. So Tom's over there, and Justice is at McKinsey, and then obviously I'm on the UBS buy side. So that's just one photo of, we worked hard, we spoke to people, we networked, we asked lots of great questions. We knew we were young, so we didn't come across as overly arrogant. We just wanted to find answers and show everyone what we could do, and we were able to put Australia on the map and fly the flag over New York virtually. And I've heard that they'll still fund a trip down the line, and maybe you will be the first on it. So I think, in summary of everything that I've said today, this is probably one of the most competitive local regions in the world. You've had USyd go to the global finals for now 3 years in a row. There are incredible universities on this call that I think will be challenging that USyd reign very, very soon. And I'm excited to see more Australian teams up there on that final stage. So I wish everyone the very best of luck. Very excited to see you all, hopefully at that next event when we announce the stocks. I will also, or the singular stock, I will also be on LinkedIn, or reach out to me wherever, just to chat if anyone wants to ask questions about how we did it and how long it took and all these extra details. Or if you want to pop anything into the Q&A now, I'm happy to go for whatever question pops up. And thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Jeff. I like photos. I'm not good with numbers, so it was a good presentation. So for everyone, please pop in your Q&A if you have any questions. I think there's two things you said, Jeff, very important. One is network, and number two is being humble. It's a very small industry, and so once you know someone and you know their capability, it's easy to give them money. In the case of where I work, we allocate money to other managers. So UBS, I know you work there, gives that relationship. And the second is being humble. In our industry, it's a very important quality to be humble. And this competition gives you the experience, but you're dealing with also very humble people. I think the third thing, and before getting to the answers to your questions coming through, is we're not here just to sell this competition. I'm a volunteer, and Jeff doesn't have anything to gain by you participating. What we want to create is an environment for you to make very informed career choices and help you to get into career that you want. And that's what we're trying to do here. And as a volunteer myself, that's my goal. And so hopefully that comes through. Let's jump into questions. What kind of, that one's for you, Jeff. What kind of time commitment would this require?
Yeah, sure. I think that was probably the most obvious one that I missed. Time commitment, depends on how collaborative your team is. And this was one other thing I was going to mention in the presentation, that this collaboration is key. You need to work well with your team members. You need to understand everyone's time schedules. We would do quite a few hours every night for, to be honest, quite a few months. So this is like the pace that you're doing a 1 week case competition, maybe not as intense. You're not pulling multiple hours every single night for a week to try and cram this, but you want to be doing a little bit every day with your team. So we would jump on a call almost every day across a couple of months in the lead up. So we tried to treat it like a more thorough version of doing a case comp sprint. So many of you would have heard of SCC, Sydney Consulting Club, UCC, UNSW. They have certain guidelines. In if you're going to solve a case in 24 hours, you spend 3 hours brainstorming, so you don't get groupthink. Then 3 hours working together. Then you spend the next 6 hours researching, and then the back half you're implementing, and then you're tidying up. So it's a similar approach to that, but stretched over a couple of months. And maybe we'll all jump on a Zoom call for an hour every second night, and the other nights we'll do our own research and keep building out our report. So that would be my answer to that question there. And there's no required amount of time. Some teams spend too much time, and I've seen it in the past where you've seen many people finishing uni or work and they go from 6 to midnight every night for 2 months. I think that's too much, and they actually burn out, or they end up putting the wrong analysis in. The art of this is to really distill the crucial stuff. So don't overboil it. You don't need to spend that much time. You can actually treat it as treat it as an extra subject, I'd say. Do a little bit every now and then and work with your colleagues on it.
Time is important. Time commitment is important, but at the same time, time isn't the only driver of success. And so, Jeff, maybe it was a year before you guys, UTS, when they presented, they actually outscored Sydney at the presentation. So a different way of thinking and different insights, and that's what we value in the investment industry. That is winning versus losing. So it's not how many hours you put in. That's not the key driver. So it's also important to recognize that. So if you're the brightest and got the most brilliant ideas, share that with the community in our industry, and that's what makes you stand out. But obviously, you need to spend the hours to understand the company so you can have those insights. We're not just coming up with ideas of thin air. Just conscious of time, we might just go for a few more minutes. Jeff, I'll give you one more. How did you first start off with the networking for the challenge? Were there any particular hotspots or events you recommend? So maybe just more of a networking type of questions.
Yeah. I'm happy to blast through these three actually, because I think they're all great questions. So on the networking question, how did I start off? I think the main thing was attending these events. This is really where you go. So you attend these events, you'll attend the kickoff event. Someone will come in and talk about what the stock is going to be. And then from there, in terms of the actual networking itself, it was more coming to these events is what I meant, and being present at the actual local challenge and making sure you're friendly with your peers, because who knows where you'll end up. You might be working together. I think the actual networking is more intergroup, so it's important to understand how you work with each other and talk to your faculty advisor, and that's what I say would be crucial there. And because almost each university goes off, and the team of 3 to 5 will then go and work hard on their relative submission. The next question on where do you start with analysis, great question. That will also be galvanized a little bit more when the stock is announced. Normally, I would start with the annual report and make sure you have a pretty good understanding of how to do a DCF. You don't have to know how to do that today, but you can always ask people at your university or go off and do some online YouTube. So I would start with understanding the fundamentals. And as I said in the presentation, I think a great way, as Frank mentioned, to do well is actually take a big step back and think what's driving from a macro industry and company perspective. So I would do both the quantitative and the qualitative to start with. Has the competition Jeff, has this competition supported the learning curve in your current job position? It has actually. It's helped. It helped a lot because I never knew how to value some sectors. So I used to be a TMT analyst. I used to do transport. I used to cover Qantas and Transurban. So now with that going across into more of the banking side, it gives you sector breadth. And even if it is a stock that you've already come across, that's totally fine. It just gives you more depth. And trust me, you will be the most prepared on that particular security. So if you ever have a job interview and they say, tell us about a stock that you may have done work on, it's quite easy when you've spent a couple of months looking at a particular security and you can pick up some very nuanced details. So I think that's a fantastic question and all good. And then this one might be more from an admin perspective, but if I have a full-time internship over the course of the research challenge, would you still recommend me taking part? So I think that's a question where it depends on your full-time internship. You might just have to check the rules. I'm sure Frank will go into this on whether that crosses over with equity research. But if not, then I would still recommend taking part. I'd just be very upfront with your team at the beginning. So we don't want to discourage people from taking part. We just want to make sure that you know what you're getting in for, and you're getting in for, I would argue, the case competition in the globe. So this is the financial case competition, and if you are willing to give it a go and put some time in and learn about it, it will absolutely pay off as an investment.
Awesome. No more questions in the Q&A, and it's almost we're 15 minutes past our closing time. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I just want to thank Jeff for your time tonight, sharing your insights, your thoughts, experiences. It's been very valuable. And I hope everyone else on the call tonight has found today's session valuable. And we hope to see you in person at a kickoff event, which will be in person, where we can have a wine or beer as a food. So with that, we'll see you soon.
Perfect. Thanks so much, everyone. Really great to meet you. Stay in touch.
Cheers.